Billionaire Richard Branson has flown to the edge of space, fulfilling a lifelong dream and making a great leap towards space tourism being a reality. The flight reached 80 kilometres above the surface of the Earth, where they experienced a few minutes of weightlessness. Rob Reynolds is at the spaceport in New Mexico with more.
Billionaire Richard Branson has earned his astronaut's wings.
It's a complete experience for a lifetime.
The flight went off without a hitch. The space plane Unity was lifted skyward, attached to a double fuselage mothership called Eve, after Branson's mother.
Release, release, release.
At high altitude, Unity separated from Eve, then fired its powerful rockets, blasting Branson, 3 Virgin Galactic executives, and a pair of pilots to a height of 88 kilometers above Earth. That is not exactly outer space. The international scientific body that decides such things says space begins at 100 kilometers. But that hardly seemed to matter, as the passengers and crew enjoyed the incredible views of the Earth below with the darkness of space above. They also experienced several minutes of microgravity, allowing them to float nearly weightlessly. The 70-year-old British entrepreneur won the billionaire space race, beating Amazon's Jeff Bezos and SpaceX founder Elon Musk to the heavens. Bezos plans to lift off in his Blue Origin space company's rocket on July 20th. Musk's plans for space travel haven't been announced. After maneuvering for re-entry, Unity glided to a flawless landing at the Virgin Galactic spaceport in a remote section of the New Mexico desert as onlookers cheered. The entire flight lasted about an hour. Back on Earth, Branson held a news conference.
Honestly, nothing could prepare you for the view of Earth from space. I mean, the whole thing was just magical.
Then it was time to celebrate. Branson's plan is to make space tourism possible for Earthlings. Following today's successful flight, there will be several more tests of Branson's spacecraft. The goal is to send tourists into space beginning next year. The price tag, $250,000 each. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera in Sierra County, New Mexico.
Tanya Harrison is a fellow at the Outer Space Institute. She joins us via Skype from Washington, D.C. Thanks very much for being with us. So how big a moment is this, do you think, for the future of commercial space travel?
This is a huge deal. This is the first time that we've had a fully crewed flight like this. And the space community in general has really been waiting to see, when is Virgin Galactic actually going to be able to launch a full crew like this? And it's been really amazing to see that the flight appears to have gone off without a hitch today.
Does it matter that it was suborbital, or is that a technicality in your view?
I think it's mostly a technicality. It's just the fact that they were able to do this successfully. Orbital launches will come someday with maybe another provider. That wasn't really the goal for Virgin Galactic. But I think in terms of finally seeing this flight actually happen, it doesn't really matter very much to the folks in the space industry, the height that they got to for this.
What is the advantage, you think, of commercial space travel? Is it just a billionaires competition, or do you think there'll be broader benefits from it?
We've already seen a lot of benefits from having companies that are created by these space billionaires. And I think the media tends to portray it as just this race between, rich men trying to see which one of them will get themselves into space first. But there's really been a lot of technological development behind this. We've seen NASA partnering with some of these space companies to work on things like SpaceX, for example, has launched NASA missions into space, things that we use to do Earth observing to monitor things like climate change here on Earth. So it's becoming more of a partnership between government agencies and these commercial space companies working together to do advancements in science and technology.
How much is this about getting people to realize the kind of the potential for industrializing space in order to protect Earth? That was one suggestion that someone made, that's the kind of the goal ultimately, is to try and start using resources out in space rather than on the Earth.
There are a lot of resources in space that we could utilize, like if we do asteroid mining or mining on the moon, for example, where we're not creating so many environmental hazards like we have here on Earth. And so these are all stepping stones in that direction. they do raise some questions about, should we be doing things on Earth that require so many resources that we need to go beyond it to use them, or should we figure out how to more responsibly use what we have here on Earth? But it's good to look at all of the options that are out there for sure.
And in terms of the kit itself, tell us about the plane and how it works and what's sort of so special about it.
So the Virgin Galactic setup is a little unusual compared to what you might think of as a typical rocket launch, where usually you've got a rocket, it goes up, and a little pod separates from the top of it, and that's where you tend to have your crew for things like the Apollo missions or when we send crews to the International Space Station. For Virgin, you actually have their spaceship attached to a larger mothership, and that mothership takes off, flies to a certain altitude, and then actually drops the VSS Unity spaceship, and then the engines kick on the spaceship, and that took them up into the boundary between Earth and space. So it's a quite novel design, and no one else has built anything like this before.
Tanya Harrison, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thanks so much.